I enjoy coming to work every day knowing that clients are depending on me to guide them through whatever financial needs they have.
Every client we have is different. And so it's really about finding out what's really the most important thing per client.
With financial planning, everything is interconnected. So a comprehensive plan means that you're taking care of income needs now, income needs in the intermediate term, and income needs long term. We'll do an asset cycle portfolio. We'll do a risk-alize test. We'll do a life insurance audit or a life insurance review.
And so when we build a deep relationship with our clients, then we can take a step back and then we can look at different options to help them specifically get to their goals. One of the things I feel our job is as advisors is to introduce strategies to clients that maybe they did not know that they were out there. But it's our our job to come out and say, have you ever thought about this?
And the planning it's not always about income, but a lot of it is also about the legacy. So the element of family is very important to us, and it's important to our clients.
Hello, my name is Steve Jablonski, and I'm the host of Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. As most of our topics focus around retirement planning, today we're going to talk about what are some potential retirement roadblocks and what can we do to help you overcome these roadblocks to go into a successful retirement. So with that said, Jeff?
Well, hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. Good to be here on PCTV and the PCTV network. We've been doing these shows now for six. I guess we're done with our sixth year. We're starting our seventh year. Time flies when you're having fun. And of course, when we started this show, we were doing it back in the old studio back at Pottstown High School, and now we're here in our own office right here in downtown Pottstown, right here on the corner of High and Hanover Street. So retirement roadblocks. We thought this would be a good topic for the show because really there's a lot of things that get in the way of people planning successfully for retirement. And I will just say, it's never too late to start, and it's never too early to start. So for those out there watching us today, there's no time like the present.
Yep. And Jeff, as our name says, Informed Family, we've been getting in the news lately, going out, being published, helping people, educating people, and we've had some good things going on the last couple of years. And why don't you talk a little bit about that and where we've been?
Sure. Basically, I wrote an article for the Reading Eagle. I wrote two articles for Kiplinger that were published last year. I was interviewed on Enterprise Radio. Of course, you were featured in the Norristown Patch, and our colleague Barry he wrote an article for Investopedia and for Yahoo News. So, in addition to doing these shows here on PCTV and of course our live events, we've been doing quite a bit, in other forms of media. So it's been good. Yep.
And so when we talk about retirement, I think in my 25 years, one of the most challenging things is to educate people. They've saved and saved and saved for many years, and that's their mindset, and some have done it quite successfully, but how do they transition and change the mindset into the second half of the game or retirement?
Yeah. So Steve, when do most mountain climbing accidents occur?
On the down,
on the descent. On the descent.
Yep.
80% of all climbing injuries happen on the way down, and why is that? It's because the climb down the mountain is very different than the climb up the mountain. So after climbers have successfully reached the top, it's a very different journey down the other side of the mountain. And of course, we use that analogy in our practice because retirement is the same way. A lot of times, we'll meet with people that are, at or approaching retirement, and I always tell them, you've already won the game. And what I mean by that is you have enough money here saved for retirement. You can have a successful retirement, but we don't want to take any unnecessary risk with your portfolio, and we have to position the portfolio in such a way that it's different. It's generating the right income. We're planning efficiently for taxes. We're planning for the legacy. We're not taking too much risk.
Right, because a lot of times there people don't realize, but there might be, there's the live-on dollars, but there's also can be leave-on dollars.
Yeah. So leave on, and that's not a song by Elton John. It's leave on, leave on and live on. So leave on is money that you're probably not going to spend in your lifetime. Or it's at the very least it's really long term.
Yep.
Long-term planning. And then there's live-on money, and that's the money that you need to sustain your life on a month-to-month basis. So we treat those types of investments differently because they're structured differently.
Yep. And when we talk about retirement planning in the market, and it's been said the market 30 years ago it might be is a little different than it is today. And what can you tell us about that?
Well, what I would tell you is that this is not your father's stock market. The stock market in the 80s and the 90s, that's what we call your father's stock market. That was, an unprecedented bull run. The market was pretty much straight up for the better part of that 20 years. There were a couple blips in there, but for the most part, it was a long-term bull market, and if you had a buy and hold strategy, it was pretty easy to make money. And then, of course, something happened at the turn of the century, and we're not talking about Y2K and us having to store water in our basement and buy generators and things of that nature to prepare for the turn of the century. And nothing happened,
Yep.
of course. But what did happen is the stock market then was in for unprecedented volatility, marked by two severe global recessions. So that's the stock market that we live in today, where we have a lot of volatility, and buy and hold really doesn't work anymore. It's more like buy and pray.
Yep. And when we look at historical highs in the stock market and interest rates, well, how is that different today than it was 30 years ago?
Well, if you look at the stock market today, and we're at or near all-time highs, and if we look at certain, there's certain ratios that we look at, like there's a Shiller Cape ratio, which measures PE, price to earnings, and we look at those ratios, and they're at historically high rates. Like if it's like 30, it's at a rate of 30, or a ratio of 30, and the historical average is like 15. So the ratios have only been this high two other times in our history, and that was 1929 and the year 2000. And of course, both of those periods were followed by recessions, steep recessions. So we have that, and we have coupled with very low interest rates. So the yield on the 10-year Treasury is 1.7, 1.6, 1.7, somewhere around there. So it's very low. So the combination of those two really warrants the need for planning.
Yep.
We have to be able to, plan and be able to handle whatever's ahead of us in the marketplace.
And also today's environment's changed because when I first got in the industry 25 years ago, they had this thing called the three-legged stool, and there were pensions. And how has that changed today?
Yeah, well, the three-legged stool is, the three things are, when you retire, you're getting income from pensions, number one, Social Security, number two, and then your own investments, whether it's an IRA or 401k. And what's changed is it's not only not your father's stock market, it's not your father's retirement either, because pensions today are becoming less and less prevalent than they were just a generation ago. A lot of the big corporations are doing away with pensions. They're, grandfathering people, and most younger workers that enter the workforce today, they're not going to get pensions.
Yep.
So they're going to have to rely on the other two legs of the stool.
More heavily, yes. And so when we get into some of the roadblocks, and the first one's pretty general, and you might say pretty simple, but some people just don't plan.
Yes, Steve, they don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. It sounds corny, but it's true. If you have a plan, the people that are successful in retirement, financially in retirement, are the people that have saved, socked money away every paycheck, put money away, and live. You live a little bit below your means, and you save money, and that's how you build a secure retirement. And where people fail, so to speak, in that regard, is people that are living above their means. They're spending more than they're making, and they're going into debt, and they're borrowing money. And people, we see today, kids come out of college with these big student loans, and a lot of them are digging a hole of massive debt that they never really quite climb out of, and planning for retirement is really the farthest thing from their mind.
And so with one of the basic steps that we take at Informed Family is that we base their retirement off an income model. What does that look like? What does that show the client?
Well, the income model is really, you're projecting over a long period of time, let's say 20 years, 25 or 30 years. You're making certain assumptions with, investments with assets. Where's your income going to come from? Is it going to come from Social Security? Is it going to come from a pension? Or is it going to come from your investments? And if it's going to come from your investments, what form does that take? What are the different types of investments? What are the guarantees that are provided? So, I kind of built this model that I've been using now for years, and clients like it, and it becomes part of the financial plan. And for people out there that are watching us, if you want to sit down for a free consultation, we'd be happy to do that. I don't know, Steve, if you want to, we can put that slide up, but with our contact information.
Yep.
But if you want to contact us, we'd be happy to sit down with you and do a free complimentary financial review. So anyway, it's important.
Yep. And when we look at retirement planning, there's a lot of pieces that go into this. One of them is actually just saving. So some people don't. Some people save in the wrong places. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are that it's very fundamental, and it really starts. It starts at the beginning. I know I can remember, lecturing, telling my kids how important it is to save, even when they were working jobs while they were still in school, part-time jobs. I always, look, I'm putting a roof over your head, putting food on the table. You should be saving, at least half of your money. So get used to if you get used to saving your money, you're always going to save money. If you get used to always spending your money, you're always going to find money to spend. So it's really that simple, that you save money. We talk to people that, they don't make a lot of money, but they save. They manage to find a way to save money. And saving for retirement is really, really important. And it's important to use the vehicles that are available to you. Whether if you're working for a small company that doesn't have a 401k program or a retirement program, you can always put money into your own retirement account, your own IRA. You can put, and I believe they just raised the limits on that. Steve, you would probably know that better than I, but I believe that if you're over 50 years of age now, you can put, is it $7,000 into an IRA?
I believe so. They raise that every year.
Yeah.
With the catch-up.
Yeah, and then if you're under 50, it's $1,000 less than that. So you can do that, and of course you can always do other investments. You can buy annuities. You can put money in a mutual fund. I mean, there's a lot of different savings vehicles. But if you have a 401k plan at work and your employer matches that, that's really the way to go.
Yep. And so the 401k and the IRA are pre-tax, so you get the tax break in this calendar year. Tell us a little bit about the Roth.
Yeah, well, they can be pre-tax. So if it's in a traditional account, then it's pre-tax, and you get a tax break or a tax deduction on the amount that's going into the account, and of course, all the growth in the account is tax deferred. The Roth works kind of the opposite, and there's Roth IRAs, and most employers now are offering Roth 401ks. They've been around now for about 10 years. But so the way that works is you don't get a tax break going in when you invest into a Roth account, but you're getting tax-free growth, and you're getting tax-free growth not only over the course of your lifetime, but also the lifetime of the beneficiary. So if you name your spouse as the beneficiary, it's tax-free over their lifetime as well. So it's really one of the last few tax-free benefits.
And when someone turns 70 and a half, required minimum distributions, how does that work with the two different pre-tax and the after-tax?
Well, if you have a Roth account, you're not subject to required minimum distributions. With a traditional IRA, once you reach the age of 70 and a half, you have to take money out of your account, or we call a required minimum distribution, or an RMD. So with the RMD, we go off of an IRS table, and we have to make sure that the person owning that IRA takes money out of the account and pays taxes on it. So when you're 70 and a half, the first year you're taking a little bit less than 4% out, and then it gradually gets up a little bit higher. So you're taking that money out, and you're paying taxes on it. You're finally paying taxes.
Yep, they'll get their cut.
Yeah, they'll get the IRS eventually gets their cut. They allow you to defer tax. Although it's a great thing. I mean, the 401k was really a great innovation. The IRA, those are all good vehicles for people to save. And of course, now that pensions aren't around as much as they used to be, these self-directed accounts are really important. They're an important part of the retirement landscape. And most times when we talk to people today, that's the biggest part of income when they retire is these retirement accounts.
And one of the questions for clients is around health care in retirement, and that's ever changing rapidly. And HSAs have become more popular, and a lot of people don't utilize them.
Yeah, so an HSA, that's a health savings account. What that allows you to do is you can put money into an account and use it for health care related expenses. So if you have a copay on your insurance, you can use it for that. If you have a deductible on your insurance, you can use it for the deductible. If you have medical expenses that your insurance isn't going to cover, you can use it for that. If you need eye care and you don't have insurance for eye care, you can use it for that. Dental, same thing. So there's like really a lot of uses, and I can't. I'm trying to remember the cap on that. And I think it's like $7,500 a year that you can put into this account, and it's really a good way to to save for these healthcare related expenses, because that's one of the most expensive things in retirement and one of the most unpredictable. So if you have that, that helps even if it's a little bit.
Because if you don't use it this year, it just keeps accumulating.
Yeah, you can carry that over. It's unlike the FSA, which is offered through employers. But that's kind of a use it or lose it kind of a thing. So if you don't use that money during the year, then you forfeit that money. But the HSA is money that can be carried over and used. Once you stop working, it's something that you can use for these out-of-pocket healthcare costs. So, healthcare. Unfortunately, the problems with healthcare aren't going away, and it's becoming it's interesting how it's becoming this political football, if you will. It's like everybody's got a different spin on how they want to address the healthcare situation, and it'll be without getting into politics a lot, it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds in the coming election and the ensuing 4 years. What's going to happen with healthcare.
And today, Jeff, that we are in the longest bull run ever in this country, a lot of people really don't know their true risk tolerance. So tell us a little bit about that. What are some of the mistakes some people make? How can we help them?
Well, yeah, since March of 2009, the market's been up over 250%. You might know that number. 300%.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's been up, a lot. And like you said, it's sort of an unprecedented run. And of course, I always say that, a bull market never dies of old age. So just because we've had this unprecedented bull market, it doesn't mean it's going to stop, but it also doesn't mean it's going to continue either. There's some things that we see that we don't necessarily like. But regardless, when you're investing, you should be mindful of your risk. And a lot of people aren't. And we see that's a common pitfall. So the way we measure, we have a way to quantify that in our practice, and we use Riskalyze. So what Riskalyze does is it measures a couple of things. So we can measure your portfolio. So somebody can come in with their financial statements, and we can say, okay, well, based on all of your financial statements, your risk score is this. Your risk score is 50. Your risk score is 75. So we measure it on a scale of 1 to 100. 1 being no risk, and 100 being extremely high risk. So we have that, and then the other measurement, of course, is you score where they should be.
Yep.
So through a series of questions, we can determine what their what their risk tolerance is and where they should be. Okay, so if there's a difference between where they score out and where their investments are, then we might have to make some adjustments. So it's really, really important to quantify and measure the risk.
And so when people save money for years and years and years, we really don't want them to give more to the government than they have to. And so along this side of this comes tax planning. So how do we help people there? What are some of the mistakes people make?
Well, the reason why we see a lot of mistakes with tax planning is because the tax code is so complicated and convoluted and changes a lot. So we try to understand it and make sense of it and communicate that to our clients. But the reality of it is the tax code's pretty thick. But there's a lot of things that you can do. So, for example, take advantage of these tax-deferred vehicles, whether it's a 401k or a 403b through work, whether it's an IRA. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is, these Roth accounts are ways to grow and distribute your money on a tax-free basis. So that's, that becomes part of the plan as well. And I know we've done some models where if you, depending on how much income you need in retirement, we can really structure it so that if you can keep your Social Security under the threshold for taxes, you can keep your traditional IRA under the threshold of taxes, and then you take some money out of a Roth IRA account, and you can really benefit from taxes. So, tax planning just goes into all the other elements of the plan. This is like baking a cake, Steve.
Yep.
You throw in, the risk, you throw in the taxes, you throw in the, planning for your working years versus your retirement. There's a lot of moving parts. So what I would encourage our viewers to do is call us if you have any thoughts or questions on this or any topic that we have. And we always offer a free consultation to the people that tune into our show. So we'd love to hear from you. So with that being said, this puts a wrap on another show, and this is Financially Speaking.